Amidst all the pain and heartbreak the pandemic has caused, we've also seen people step up in huge ways to take care of each other. That includes the restaurant industry, where people like my next guest have been working to keep their employees, their communities, and their own restaurants afloat. Tracy Chang is the James Beard Award-nominated chef and owner of PAGU in Cambridge. In the past year, she's helped start 2 nonprofits, Off Their Plate, which employs out-of-work cooks to make meals for frontline healthcare workers, first in Boston, now across the country, and Project Restore Us, which delivers groceries to people in need and pays restaurant workers to pack the boxes. Tracy joins me now. Tracy, it's really good to have you here. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for hosting us today, Jim.
So let's start with Off Their Plate. From what I read, I think in the Globe the other day, it started almost exactly a year ago with 90 meals being delivered to the Brigham. Bring us to today. What's it accomplished in that year?
Yeah, in a very short amount of time, we have been able to take the model and replicate it across the country. With who knows how many different chefs, but across 9 cities nationwide, and over, I think we're over $7 million in funding now, and serving not only frontline healthcare workers now, but also communities in need, community centers as well.
And Jose Andres is now involved, am I not right? The great World Central Kitchen leader?
Yeah, we got in touch with Jose early on. He's a friend of mine, and his CEO as well, Nate Mook of World Central Kitchen. I'm pretty sure within the first few days of doing that first 90 meals to Brigham, I said, hey, how do you guys do it? So we can make sure, we're doing this right. And what are your safety protocols? So we're keeping everyone safe. So they actually sent us within that first week a box full of just PPE and just a lot of things that really brought up the cheer in Boston.
I love when I read, I think it was in the Globe the other day, interview with you, that this idea, the genesis of this was from a medical student at Harvard who's a customer of yours, and going to great beginnings at Project Restore Us. This was you and a friend splitting a bag of flour or some such thing that led to that effort?
Yeah, a friend of a friend. She said, hey, can you buy flour? I said, sure, we're a restaurant. We can still get flour, yeast, sugar. And she said, I'll take 50 pounds. I'll come on my bike.
And so where is that today, a year later, almost a year later?
Yeah, the rest was history. Since then, we have applied for dozens of grants, and we have served, who knows how many different over a dozen community organizations who have been in existence here, who know who their families in need are. And we have been able to tailor groceries for them, have restaurants repackage these groceries, and sent out over 300,000 pounds of food to really use folks who can't even get in line for food banks.
That's unbelievable. So you've got a young family. You have a relatively young restaurant. I assume those are both fairly time-consuming endeavors. Why are you doing this?
I think it is our civic duty to do it. If we're not going to do it, who's going to do it? And I don't think you need someone to ask you or to tell you to do it, but to just notice that the need is there in front of you, whether it's in Cambridge or Chelsea or Revere. And I got a firsthand kind of glimpse at that because I have my restaurant in Cambridge, but I also have my employees who we've been carpooling to work in Chelsea, Revere, Dorchester. So I saw immediately how those communities were impacted and harder hit in Cambridge.
Let's go from 2 nonprofits to what I'm guessing is an unintentional nonprofit, at least for the last year, your restaurant. How have you survived on that front through these 12 months?
Yeah, I think it's, some people say, is it a curse or a blessing that your restaurant is young and that, say your restaurant can't survive on one revenue stream alone, right? Like some people did great during takeout. We just aren't that kind of restaurant and neighborhood. So, the silver lining is that we've been creative in starting a grocery store, in starting a subscription model, in driving to the suburbs to deliver pre-ordered food. And, the nonprofit works have also just been two other branches of revenue streams.
So that's one pandemic. Can we talk about the other pandemic for a second here? Racism directed at Asian Americans. I haven't spoken to one single Asian American, either on television or in the real world, who has said to me, this is something that is new to me. I'm guessing you're not going to be the first, Tracy.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's difficult to say that, business is down specifically because, I am Chinese, Taiwanese American, and this has impacted my business. We have experienced racism since my grandmother had a restaurant in the 80s. And she was targeted. She and my grandfather were followed home, and they were targeted in their homes multiple times. And these are, suburbs that we think are well off now, like Lexington and Winchester, where they used to live. And not that those were much scarier places at that time, but it's not so much about the place as it is about the hate that can exist within some people, no matter where you are in the country or where you are in the world. And unfortunately,
we've gone from. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, and unfortunately, it the tragedies that have occurred in Atlanta are just a reminder, and not news to us.
We only have a minute left. Are you? I don't know. Well, I don't know you. I just know of you. Are you a hopeful person? We go from a president who did absolutely everything he could to fan the flames of racism to a president who, in my opinion, in the most tender of ways, has shown empathy for people who have been the victims of this kind of behavior. Are you a person of hope?
Yeah, I do think we are making movements in the right directions. If you look at, even just leadership that has been appointed in the recent few months, right, in the first few weeks of President Biden's candidacy, we're seeing, a lot of diversity and change already. And I think that's the kind of momentum that we need in order to maintain that hope, to float that hope. I would say that in terms of our nonprofit work as well, we have been able to access more funding and more capital in the recent past few months. And that's due to legislation and changes in legislation. So I hope we're moving in the right direction.
Congratulations on your fabulous work and your terrific restaurant. I wish you luck. And by the way, I ate at your grandmother's restaurant many a time at Fresh Pond, so I have fond memories. It's good to see you, Tracy Chang. Thanks so much. Talk to you soon.
Thank you, Jim. Thanks for your support.
And again, to learn more about and support her two nonprofits, Project Restore Us and Off Their Plate, visit the addresses on your screen.